really related to that when you were sharing that, just being so afraid to like be able to connect with anyone, and what might happen, and based on your experience in prison.
Yeah.
But you kept going, didn't you? And you did a few more things and went to Arizona. Let's talk about that.
So, I mean, just to quickly get to Arizona, so I ended, I felt that disconnection. I knew where to connect. I knew how to connect with drugs. And so I connected with alcohol and drugs again. And then I spent the next 7 years or whatever, basically on the run from the Department of Corrections. And it led me to, at one point, running to Arizona with a girlfriend that I had, to be at my mom's. And my mom didn't know that I was on the run. I couldn't be honest about that. I remember we took a bus down there, and I started work. I worked at Old Country Buffet down there too. And I thought that maybe they didn't have methamphetamines in Arizona. I was wrong. The the location change didn't fix things. And so, my girlfriend and I at the time, we got into that cycle, and we were a very toxic relationship. And the unhappiness and the despair followed me right there. In fact, it didn't follow me. I brought it with me. And eventually came to a point where, DOC had found out that I was down there in Arizona. And interesting of note, they sent an FBI task force after me. Because it was, yeah, because it was an interstate warrant, and because I had a very severe crime. I was the type that whenever they pulled me over to arrest me, there'd be 2 or 3 police cars, for their own safety. And they came in my house dressed as maintenance men, and arrested me and took me to Maricopa County Jail, where they give you pink underwear and stuff like that. 23-hour lockdown. They only feed you twice a day. It's a crappy experience. Yeah, they make it crappy. And I wish that was enough to fix you. I wish that consequences were enough. But consequences without additional support, it's really hard for that to be effective. So I got transported back. I was one of those people that was wearing the special jacket with the handcuffs on, being being taken back by marshals and stuff to the through the airport to Seattle. Sent to I went to Shelton, which is the Washington State Correction Center, and then he sent me to Yakima County, which, oh boy, that's not a great place. I think that's worse than Maricopa County. But eventually I made my way back to Arizona through an interstate compact. I started going to college down there, but still no treatment and still no support, and same thing again. And they eventually kicked me out of Arizona, and I came back, and bam, bam, a lot of stuff happened, to the point of where I eventually got into recovery.
And tell us how that happened. What happened first? What was the pivotal thing that happened that got you to be willing to try again?
I'd been into a place of what you would think was a bottom a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that always carried me, that let me keep going, was the fact that I had family that cared for me. My dad visited me in prison all over the state. My mom did sometimes. She did the best she could. She was in Arizona. She had moved there while I was in prison, but my dad had, and I was really close to my dad. And we actually were getting ready to sell my grandma's house, who passed away, and I helped him do all this stuff with the house. I was doing okay. I was actually, I was clean, and then I relapsed. Like, it was the day before we were doing the big move, and my dad had physical problems and can't really move stuff. And I went out and got loaded, and I couldn't come home. And I was out and running, and he had to do that stuff himself. And, the thing that I think was really, really pivotal is I remember meeting him for something. And my dad always had this look, and he would have language that he would share with me that was like, he's disappointed, but like, we're going to get up and try this again.
Mm-hmm.
And he had that look like, I don't know who you are, and I don't know where you're going, And there was this defeat in him that was something that I had not seen before. And it was that combined with him and my mom saying, we can't support you doing this anymore. We're not going to pay for a cell phone. We're not going to pay for a place for you to stay. We're not going to give you money. You either need to get it this time, or you're on your own. And that scared me to my core, like nothing else had in my life. I'd felt alone before, but I knew that I wasn't quite alone in like the back of my head and my heart. And this was the time where I was like, oh, I'm going to be all alone. And I'd already been in a situation where I wanted to die all the time. I used to walk the streets and pray for the strength to throw myself in front of a car. And here I was, I found myself like this was the ultimate bottom for me. And it was enough. It was enough for me to actually reach out to the help that was available. I got into an Oxford house. I got into an outpatient treatment program after I got released from jail for my violation. And I happened to connect with the counselor there who actually had a very similar story to me. He'd been incarcerated for a good long time and then became a counselor. And I connected with him and some of the folks in treatment and some of the folks in Narcotics Anonymous. And that was like pretty much the start of my recovery journey.